Welcome to the Art for Wellness podcast. I'm Danielle Beck, and in this space, you're invited to take a seat in my studio and get into the real eye-opening, empowering, and refreshing conversations about getting started as an artist in business and all the things that come with it. In each episode, we explore and navigate through the magical world of art business. We provide you the strategy, systems, and actionable steps needed to find true fulfillment becoming an entrepreneur brings. If you're looking to create a business that makes an impact and helps you create a life you love, you're going to love today's episode. Let's get to it. Have you ever felt a little stuck, overwhelmed, or misaligned with the business you're creating? Or have you ever felt that you're lacking focus and direction? When I first got started with my art business, I felt that too, so much that it kept me stuck for years, until I sought after mentors who taught me about developing purpose and vision into my business. And when you aren't working from a place where you feel truly motivated, it's easy to feel stuck. But what exactly is intrinsic motivation? This is a type of motivation that is driven by meaning, purpose, and vision. And it's all about being engaged and in alignment with what you do and how you spend your time. This is the very foundation of long-lasting and satisfying motivation in your art business. And when you're marketing and selling your art, it's about feeling aligned with and connected to how you work. With that being said, I'm super excited and honoured to welcome an important guest on my show today to speak with us more about making an impact and finding purpose in what we do. Award-winning entrepreneur Fab Giovanetti, who supports people making a positive impact through their marketing, is here with us today. She's also the CEO of Alt Marketing School, on a mission to raise a new generation of purpose-driven marketers. Featured in the Next Web, Business Insider, and Forbes, among many others, through her community and her online consulting, she's touched over 100,000 people from all over the world. Fab is here on the show today to share her insights, and we'll be discussing the ways that you can maximise your potential and the importance of purpose-driven building business marketing systems into your business, plus helping us learn about how to deliver lasting social impact. Hi Fab, how are you doing?
Wow. Okay. Well, that's a lot. You're in for a treat, team. You're in for a treat. That's all I'm saying.
Definitely. I'm so glad that you've joined us today on the show. Really love that you're here. So what got you started with your marketing and your business?
I mean, you talked a lot about purpose. You introduced us to the idea of purpose and the importance, excuse me, when it comes to your vision. And I think that's where it all started. I've been in business now, I'm thinking, for probably like almost 9 years now, we can say. And at the time, purpose-driven in a way wasn't necessarily at the forefront of what we did or why we created what we created. And when I worked on my first business, which used to be called Creative Impact, the reason why I started that business was because I was looking for a community of people that were passionate about what I was passionate about. So it's less necessarily about making a lasting impact in the world, which is something that came after with my other business that now I run, called Alt Marketing School. But still, I find that when your business really goes beyond just make means to an end, and it clearly is there to serve someone, you can really see the potential. And a lot of the time, still, even if people don't talk about it as much, it starts from a gap that we see or something that we need ourselves first. And then we can actually build it up and grow it, if that makes sense.
It does, absolutely. And what I love about that is when it comes to marketing, you're basically, I mean, as artists, when we market our art, we relate a lot to the ideal audience that we're building and the values and the vision that we have. And that's so important, isn't it, when you're building an audience and marketing around what you're doing?
There is something that I literally was talking to a client about an hour ago. It's been a busy day, but I'm really happy to be here. And what I was telling her was a reminder, and a slightly different background is wellness. And what I was telling her was the reminder that marketing is really a relationship, like it's a relationship building exercise. And so when we think about our audience, a lot of the time you think, what am I giving them so that then they want to get my art, for in this case? It's not really that. It's creating that tribe of super fans and people that really believe in you and they understand you and they relate to you. And when you build that relationship, It's called relationship driven marketing, which is something that we teach at marketing school.
Yeah.
You actually can create then a journey that you can repeat instead of chasing after a transactional type of marketing, which is, again, it's what a lot of us traditionally are used to. So it's not even a case of, it's just what we know. And when you actually flip the script and let people think about marketing as a relationship, people are like, oh, that makes sense, because marketing should be human. That's one of my big things. And I believe that that's what we need to remember as well.
Yeah, it's so important. And like you say, when you're building relationships with people, it's also kind of what you're delivering for them is this experience. And this is something that I spoke about in episode 5 of my podcast. Like, and I use the example of Disneyland and how they provide experiences of, you know, you get to meet the princesses, you get to take photos in front of the princesses' castles and have meals with all the characters. And it's kind of like that, isn't it? Whether it's art business or not, you're delivering this experience, and you get to choose what you do when it comes to that. Is that kind of like what you would say the relationship driven business marketing strategies are?
It's almost beyond the experiences. I think experiences are key and crucial, and that's what people remember. But I think it depends on your brand, and especially your personal brand if you're an artist. But especially because of that, even before looking at the experiences you're delivering, again, I'm working with another client right now about the story of their brand. And I think that is, even the storytelling piece goes beyond the experience you're going to provide. That is great. Provide an excellent experience. And again, that is almost the core piece of the relationship. But then before that is almost, what stories are you going to tell that allow people to see through you? And it's hard because you might be like, hello, I'm an artist. My art is part of my story. And I totally appreciate that. But when you are online as well, and especially where you don't want all of your online presence just to be about the art itself, you want it to be about the behind the scenes. You want it to be about the inception of the art. That's the beauty of it. I'm a language graduate. So for me, art, especially in the writing piece, and I'm an author. So for me, like, the relationship with the written word is so important and it's so powerful.
Yeah.
And you couldn't really see the behind the scenes of Dostoevsky or Shakespeare, or insert any other name from somebody who is pretty much dead. But right now you can actually see the journey of different authors that they go through. When I wrote my second book, Reclaim Your Time Off, I was on stories, first of all, sharing the number of words that I had to write, because I was really chuffed about finishing and getting to my 40,000, but also asking for feedback to my audience, showing them the developments. I showed them, before I even showed my husband, the cover, when I got the actual book in my hands. You know, that's something that sometimes we forget that we didn't have access to for a very long time. That relationship with our tribe and with our audience, call them as you wish, is such a powerful thing. And it goes beyond the experience. It goes almost with the story that you're telling visually, or with audio, with video, with anything else.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And that whole sense of bringing your marketing into kind of like this community and making it a narrative between the creator and the people who are seeing the work unfold. I think that's an amazing way to sum up, you know, like how it works when it comes to marketing, because there's a lot of like misconceptions about marketing being like salesy and pushy, and like, no, people were just kind of like put off by that. And then you're just thinking, it's not that, I promise. So
to be honest,
I was just going to ask, what kind of way would you, what would you describe as marketing in like a basic term for people to kind of understand?
Repeating myself, is the relationship that you build between your brand, yourself, your values and your mission and your purpose, and your audience. It's not even your customers, because that again negates the fact that you're going to have people around you that are the audience that hasn't yet committed to buy from you. So it's really a relationship. I know I repeat myself, but it genuinely is. And you could even argue, because I love the fact that you mentioned community, and it's something actually, one of the favorite lessons from our certification at all marketing school is the community building one.
Yeah.
You can even say it's a relationship between you and your community if you wanted to, if you want to go that way. But when you reframe it this way, one of my mentors and an incredible marketer called Mark Schaefer, he said that marketing inherently is linked to psychology and being human. So when you think about that, it's like, okay, then, the salesy element, hopefully slightly, fades away, because you realize that actually is about the connection that you can create with people. That's why genuinely I love marketing, because when you do it well, our tagline is market to hearts, not to brains, just to give you an idea. So I think, thanks. I think when you can do that, then you can really change the relationship that people will have with your art and with you as an artist, because at the end of the day, you are here to share your vision and your creations as a part of you. And it's a very personal experience. And it takes a lot of guts and courage to do that, first and foremost, and then to put yourself out there every day, having that picked apart by everyone. We forget the bravery that.
Yeah, it's amazing. I'm really curious, like, what's your story?
I was born in September 1990. I'm joking. That will go on for a long, long time, dear listener. I'm not sure if we're ready for this today. The funny thing is that I bumped into marketing as I was trying to become a famous music journalist in the UK. If you didn't catch it by my really random accent, I'm Italian by origin, probably get it from the surname. I moved to the UK 13 years ago, and I wanted to become a music journalist and PR, because at least I could get paid by that. And then for some reason I found about a paid internship, and I was like, yeah, so I'm gonna do. I need to get paid for something, and that then became a full-time job. They offered me a job in a startup, and that was community management, which actually was literally social media. And I just fell in love with that idea, because I was kind of dabbing into marketing myself. I had my own blog, so and I was writing, so I would present myself and my art, in this case, I guess you can call it, but my articles and my pieces through social. So I was quite good at it, and I just naturally fell in love with the concept. And then I moved from the music industry. I moved to the just design, web design. I was still doing marketing for a web design agency. And then after that, I started running my own business, and I fell in love with wellness, which is also one of the reasons why we're here today. And so I created a company that would support wellness entrepreneurs. And I became also a health coach and a personal trainer in the meantime. So I love that connection. And now what I've done and what I'm doing, I am expanding this in a way where I want to help creators, founders. We want to help companies, but also individuals like employees. We have loads of employees as well, who want to market better, who want to make a positive impact with their marketing, and who want to really connect with people in a meaningful way. So we want to give you the tools, the training, the support to do that. Because after 13 years in marketing, I learned that the confidence that you can get from having the right support, the right tools, and a bit of fab in your life, cash, really makes a difference. And I'm humble, I know, but I don't know, ask our students, I guess.
I love it. I 100% agree with what you're saying about getting the support. And I mean, I'm all for not getting into debt over starting up a business, but I think if you can invest in getting the support, getting the mentor, I think it is like the best thing you can do. I've written like a whole article about how mentors are so helpful, but it's so important. You not only do you learn, you get to hear what mistakes they made and what to avoid, and you just learn from their experience.
I actually want to add, I am, because this is so valuable what you just mentioned. I am the mentee relations director at a company, a nonprofit called OK Mentor. So OK, like OK, mentor. So if you're looking for support, and especially if you're, it's mainly for female creative, it can be artists, you can also be more into the digital creative space, professionals, and you're looking for mentorship, this is what we do. So obviously we all work as a board, a voluntary work to support the vision. And again, if you're looking just for the mentorship as an element of support, because I agree, you have to invest in your business sometimes, and that's really important. But there are also options if you're looking just to deep into it before maybe you commit to a program or a mentor or a certification like ours. Like, these options are there. I mean, some people will even argue you can poke somebody on LinkedIn nicely and ask them for some help, but there are platforms and options out there to give you some help, even if you're finding out that right now you don't have the time or the money to invest. So I want to say there are options.
Well, that's
and I
amazing.
think that's one of the beautiful things.
Yeah, that will really help the listeners today. So thank you for that. I love it. Yeah. So tell us more about your work that you're doing with Alt Marketing School. What's the direction of that heading in? Because I know that you've started up this business and it sounds really exciting. So tell us more.
Thank you for that. So I was thinking, like, what is the pipeline? The pipeline is just to grow. No, I'm joking. We want to, that's obviously part of it. But with Alt Marketing School, I just wanted to really be able to not just support, again, the founders, the solopreneurs, even the artists at times that we had before when I had my other business, Creative Impact. Now, I really want to make a difference when it comes to the bigger conversations, maybe with bigger companies, but as I said, even with startups and even with founders, they find they don't have the support they need. So our certification is the brand and butter. It's 6 weeks. We go through how to build a customer-driven journey, a purpose-driven marketing strategy. You literally do your marketing strategy draft and you get feedback from experts at the end of the 6 weeks. So we really wanted to get out there with something. We also have and just introduced a 2-week intensive introduction to marketing, which is just an option if you're genuinely like, what we're talking about, or maybe you have a lot of misconceptions and you kind of want to get a bit more confident about really what marketing should be. So we wanted to give that option too. I think for us, the main element is having infrastructure and support to look at helping more companies, founders in the social impact space.
Yeah.
We also have a scholarship for diversity, inclusion, and belonging, which we want to develop even more. So we're really looking at making a difference in the way that marketing is taught, in the way that marketing is accessible, or maybe not as accessible, because we believe that there are so many changes we can make. And I'm really, really excited to be able to do that. And one thing that I'll say, regardless whether you're running a business like mine or you're just doing your personal brand, remember that a lot of these things take time.
Absolutely.
But it all sounds very fancy, but it's starting again from scratch after having had another business for 8 years. And I run my consultancy, which has been literally 9 years. So I realized that when you're starting something new, it will take a bit of time to adjust to it. And sometimes you forget when you've been doing something for a very long time. So even if you've been an artist for 10 years, but you haven't really put yourself out there by having a website or a portfolio or showing up on social, then it's still kind of new. So I feel sometimes we put our pressure on ourselves because we're like, well, I've been doing this for 10 years. And I'm like, sure, but how long have you been on Twitter for? Or TikTok? Remember that these things will take time for you to build and grow. And please, please, please don't fall for the quick fixes because they just don't work.
It's
Thanks.
so true. And it's as much about strategy. I love what you said then. It's as much about strategy as it is about mindset. And I think when you're in that right headspace and you have a lot of confidence in yourself and you can build that momentum because what you're doing is something that lights you up truly and not just about money, I think that is like a massive part of it. So when it comes to like creating a business and doing your marketing, it's so important as well to include these elements of well-being and like mental health even, and just to make sure that you're prioritizing it, isn't it? Am I right?
It's kind of funny. And you said something really important that I was doing some research when it came to marketers, because again, it's not an audience that I was mainly targeting before I started Alt Marketing School. And marketing, when it comes to traditional jobs, marketing is one of the most stressful industries and jobs to be in, according to a recent LinkedIn study, probably like number 3 or 4. And I was like, whoa. And we're like, what's in it for me? Wait for it. When you break it down, the reason why that is because you spend a lot of time online and you spend a lot of time as a marketer if you're working for somebody else, or if you're working with clients, really like putting yourself out there as your brand or as somebody else's brand. So when you think about it, when you are a personal brand, when you are marketing, so when you're actually sharing your message with the world, on top of being potentially time consuming until you build systems, which is something that can take time and guidance, totally get that. But also on top of the mindset that you always have to run a business, which you said rightfully is very important, there's also the element of the mindset and taking care of your mental health by constantly being facing, what the world is doing. So whether it's comparison, whether it's feedback, sometimes not constructive, that you get, where there is, second guessing yourself, because you're exposed to so much all the time by being online and having to engage and show up. That mindset piece, that confidence is what keeps you going. And as you mentioned, though, also the vision is really important, because that will keep reminding you of what you're doing.
Yeah. I wonder what your take on this is, Fab, because the other day I explained this in a post on my social media. I was saying I got someone messaged me about my art, saying a load of stuff about it, that I did not ask to get feedback on this artwork, but it's because I put myself out there, isn't it? And you just automatically get comments, and they're like, oh, you're not qualified enough to be an artist, blah blah blah. And you're just kind of sitting there like, I bet you don't even draw. And it made me laugh so much, but it made me feel like I wasn't good enough at what I did. And I had to admit it did make me feel like someone was like pushing me out of my place. So what's your take on that? Like, when it actually comes to facing with like deconstructive criticism?
Honestly, I always ask myself, is it constructive in any way?
Yeah.
Yes or no? If the answer is no, then if you want to go as far as blocking away, block away. At the end of the day, is your online space that you show up on. I think if you make a mistake, or if you say something in a way that maybe you find has hurt someone, then by all means, if somebody says constructively, maybe you should have thought about this. That's a different type of criticism. If somebody says, I don't agree with you on a point, that's yet another type of criticism. And all these types of criticisms you can welcome with a well-explained answer and a way to meet somebody in the middle, or to learn from them and from your mistakes, because we're human. When it's not constructive and it's just somebody, and it's kind of hard, because you're like, maybe they're having just a bad day, and your piece of art just appeared in that moment where they were not feeling it, and it triggered them. Remember, the reason why there's non-constructive criticism in the world, in my opinion, is because what people see triggers something within them, and they need to respond to it. So part of me is like, well, they're already probably going through something themselves that is really triggering them, that is not related to me or anything I've done, because there's nothing constructive about this. Then, I feel bad for them, and then I send them on their merry way, because it's not for me to take. Is it constructive? I always ask this question: is it constructive? And when it's literally just down from a place of giving you some really negative comments for no reason, then it's not constructive. Because there's no place for that. So it's your online space, you curate it in the way that makes you feel the best, and you welcome in there people that respect you as much as you respect your audience and everybody else around you. As simple as that.
It's so true. I love the way you summed that up, because it made it really clear. And it's as well, like when it comes to actually sharing your art or sharing your business and your story, you're opening yourself up to being vulnerable in a way, isn't it? And you've got to expect that there's going to be different points of views, and you have to take it on board. But I think there's a line, isn't there, that you have to kind of like set boundaries, and if they cross that boundary, then, like you say, block it.
I'm in a lucky position where I have been in business long enough and running different businesses, and I've made a lot of relationships. And again, not to be humble, but people that work with me in the past know that even if I am a bit of a squirrel on speed a lot of the time, it's like my little hamster wheel is going insane. That's my brain. And, I'm very energetic, and I'm not your typical professional that you will see as a marketer. I totally get that. But I always work in a professional manner. I always recognize and listen to any feedback if I'm, if there's something that I need to learn, or something that maybe wasn't presented the right way. So I have a really nice group of little cheerleaders. One of them is my best friend, so that helps too. But, also business friends and people that are there for me. So if you really feel like you're not really sure, maybe you're starting to second guess yourself because you feel really bad about something that happened, go back to that little tribe of incredible people that are your super fans, that are your little art buddies that, you can confide in, and even ask them and share it with them, because sometimes that perspective from somebody else can really help getting it out of your own head too.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Like getting a second opinion, because even like when you do that, you're building relationships with those people as well, and that is just going to make it stronger between you. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? As you were saying. So yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I really struggled actually when I started doing art. I really struggled to kind of network with like artists in the game, because I didn't really know many, and I was thinking, where am I going to find them? And it's not until I actually put myself out there and looked into doing these things and actually actively, you know, intentionally took a step out of my comfort zone. And it's a huge part of what you're doing, and it is to do with that mindset of building up this kind of momentum to, you know, and like I say, setting boundaries, isn't it? Yeah. And you know, it's just one of those things. If you're not ready, or you feel not ready, you've just got to take a step out of your comfort zone. I'm sure there's loads you can say about comfort zone, right? It's one of those things that as business owners or artists, all of us have a comfort zone. And stepping out of it, sometimes it's like, no, that's way too scary. But it's actually, normally it's not actually as bad as you think it is. And it's just the way that your brain makes you feel leading up to it, and it can sometimes hold you back more than you think it, or you realize. That's something that I've learned.
Comfort zones are funny because so hilarious, aren't they? No, because the reason why I find it funny, there's a reason to my madness, is because there's the healthy balance. A lot of what I talk about is balance, I guess, but between obviously pushing yourself out of it, but also thinking, is that coming from me, and is it coming from a right place or a good place? Let me explain. Because we live in the online world, and because opinions are free, sometimes we get loads of, this is what you should do, this is why you should do it. And I always find that I always want to guide people so that they can find their own answers, and that they can know how they can take that step to get out of their comfort zone and try something new and learn from it. Because you can either, you know, succeed at it, or you can learn from it. That's how I see it. There's two ways. There's no failure. It's really like, one of them is the lessons that you learn. The other one is you actually succeed and can go to the next step. And I find that sometimes if we get out of our comfort zone because that's what we think we should do, but it doesn't really sit right with us, then to me, it's it's a bit of an argument of just doing it for the sake of it.
Yeah.
And it's hard because, you know, people will give us feedback, they will give us suggestions. That's the one, because they care about us, or because they want to see us, you know, change and improve. And especially when you work with coaches, or you work in a course or a certification like ours, you will get told a couple of things that you should do, or a couple of ways that you should build your business or your brand. But always remember to kind of check in with yourself, and the building your trust in your intuition takes time. And that's ultimately what has the core answer. Am I saying no or yes to something from a place of fear, or am I saying no or yes to something from a place of hope, or from a place of intuition? I promise, if you flex the muscle enough, you will learn that. Don't ask me how to do it in a way that is very, for me, it's very physical. That's why I'm like, I can't really tell you rationally how it is, but I know how to trust my intuition. I genuinely feel it. So I know what is fear, what is intuition, but it's because I tuned in enough, and I built my mindfulness activities and practices enough so that I could actually listen in and learn. But for me personally, and maybe it's not the only way, it's very physical, but that helps me knowing whether there's a place of fear or if it's intuition that is talking to me.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I'm really intrigued to know about what you mean by mindfulness. Do you kind of like, when it comes to the process of processing your thoughts and your feelings in that physical way, how do you approach that?
Every way. I'm a Virgo. Hello. every astrology lover, I just said it, right? So Virgos, stereotypically, we throw everything at it. So there's a couple of things. There's journaling is a big one for me, because I'm a writer too, so that helps. Meditation is another big one. And I used to love to change it every day, and now I genuinely do the same meditation every single day. I guess with age has come like just comfort. It can be movement a lot of the time too, whether it's a workout or even just like a dance routine or dancing in the middle of the park on my own. I know. Or a walk as well, where instead of distracting myself with podcasts and stuff, I just put some music or even nothingness and just process my feelings. So there are a lot of ways. Find what works for you. And I'm, again, in my book, in Reclaim Your Time Off, I talk a lot about testing and experimenting what works for you and why it's important. Because again, everybody's different. And I think when you're trying to almost to force yourself to wake up at 5 a.m. for the 5 a.m. club, and you're just like an evening person, you know, you're, to me, is like, is this habit or is this new thing that I want to try going to go with the lifestyle I want to lead, or is it going literally against it? Because if it's going against it, that there's no point in you, you know, meditating in a traditional way. Maybe you'll find a different way to meditate. Maybe it's with music, maybe it's guided, maybe it's walking meditation, you know. Find the best way that works for you so that it can work with something sustainable that you can keep up with.
I love it. Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. Work with what suits you the most. Like, we're all different, that's the thing. So it's going to take a bit of trial and error, I think, isn't it, when you first get started? And then you'll sort of realize that that's what I kind of realized about when I was like doing art therapy. It takes a while to kind of go through the whole process, and then you can then weigh up in your head, actually, no, I prefer that. And then that's how you kind of roll with it, isn't it? Yeah, so it's really exciting. Now, you have your alt marketing school, haven't you? So how can my listeners be in touch with you or learn more about that? Tell us how it works.
Awesome. Well, dear listeners, first of all, thank you for listening. And I really hope give you some food for thoughts today in so many different ways. If you want to find out more about Alt Marketing School, then you just go to altmarketingschool.com. If you go to altmarketingschool.com/learn, you will be able to find out more about our 6-week certification. Both our courses are application just to help us make sure that we are the right fit for you. And also because we have limited spots, because they're all taught live with small cohorts of people. Yeah. If you want to find out more about our intensive, completely new to digital marketing, and also you feel like you just need a better understanding of the fundamentals, then you can go to altmarketingschool.com/introduction, and that will then direct you to the link about our other course. But also, if you have any questions for me, or you just want to share some of your thoughts or anything that I talked about, you want some resources, you can find me at fabgiovanetti.com or even at Fab Giovanetti on pretty much every social aside from Snapchat. I'm there. So you can also ask me any questions there too.
Oh, it's been amazing, hasn't it? Thank you so much for your time today. I love your passion, and it's wonderful to be able to get some insights from you, because you clearly love what you're doing, and discussing about these things has made it so easy for all of us to kind of listen and break it down. So I have a question for my listeners. How are you going to be showing up in your business after listening to our episode today? Have a think and let us know by leaving a review in Apple Podcasts. I'd love to see you implement the steps we spoke about today, and I can't wait to see you next week, same time, same place. And thank you again to Fab. Catch you next time.